About pulmonary embolism. Pulmonary embolism can either be from propagation from lower limb DVT, deep vein thrombosis, or other causes like septic emboli from endocarditis, tricuspid or pulmonary valves, and tumors like choriocarcinoma, and fat following fracture of long bones like femur, and also from amniotic fluid embolism or air embolism. And the pulmonary embolism can be divided into two types, acute and chronic. And the acute can be either acute massive, or acute small or medium. So features one by one. So in acute, in the pathophysiology in acute massive pulmonary embolism, there will be sudden decrease in cardiac output and there will be acute right heart failure. In acute small or medium, there will be segmental pulmonary artery occlusion, and there will be pulmonary infarction and the pleural effusion. And in chronic pulmonary embolism, there will be features of right heart failure. And symptoms in pulmonary embolism. In acute massive pulmonary embolism, there will be severe dyspnea and crushing chest pain, collapse and apprehension. And in acute small or medium, there will be pleuritic chest pain, restricted breathing or dyspnea, and hemoptysis due to pulmonary infarction. Then chronic pulmonary embolism, there will be exertional dyspnea. There will only be a small exertional dyspnea. And the signs in acute massive pulmonary embolism, there will be tachycardia, hypotension due to the sudden cardiac output, sudden decrease in cardiac output, and increase in JVP, RV, gallop rhythm by the right heart failure, and loud P2 due to pulmonary artery hypertension, severe cyanosis due to decrease in oxygenation, and decreased urine output due to severe hypotension. And in acute small or medium pulmonary embolism, there will be tachycardia, pleural rap, raised hemidiaphragm, crackles or crepitations, and effusion features of effusion, and there will also be some associated low-grade fever. Then in chronic pulmonary embolism, there will be RV heave, right heart failure features, that is right ventricular heave, loud P2, and other signs of right heart failure. And chest X-ray features. In acute massive pulmonary embolism, chest X-ray can even be normal, or there will be mild oligemia only. And in acute small or medium pulmonary embolism, and there will be pleuropulmonary opacities, pleural effusion, linear shadows, and raised hemidiaphragm. And in chronic pulmonary embolism, there will be enlarged pulmonary artery trunk, enlarged heart, and prominent right ventricle. And in ECG, there will be S1Q3T3, that is prominent S wave in lead 1 and prominent Q wave and T inversion in lead 3. And there will be right bundle branch block. And in acute small or medium, there will be sinus tachycardia. And in chronic pulmonary embolism, ECG change can be the RV hypertrophy and RV strain. And in ABG, in acute massive pulmonary embolism, there will be decreased PaO2 and decreased PaCO2, and also metabolic acidosis due to severe hypotension and severe hypotension shock. And in acute small or medium, the ABG can be normal and decreased PaO2 and decreased PaCO2. And in chronic pulmonary embolism, there will be exertional decrease in PaO2 or desaturation on exercise testing. And about differential diagnosis. Differential diagnosis of acute massive pulmonary embolism is myocardial infarction, pericardial tamponade, aortic dissection. And in acute small or medium, the differential diagnoses are pneumonia, pneumothorax, and other musculoskeletal pain. And in chronic right heart failure, other causes of pulmonary arterial hypertension is a DD. And about the investigations, what are the chest X-ray features in pulmonary embolism? There can be just pulmonary opacities, and there can be bed-shaped opacity and horizontal linear opacities, Pleural effusion can be a sign of pulmonary embolism. Pulmonary oligemia, enlarged pulmonary artery, and elevated hemidiaphragm. Then ECG to be taken, then D-dimer which will be elevated, and CT pulmonary angiography which shows the pulmonary embolism correctly, and USG leg and venous Doppler to rule out DVT, and ventilation perfusion scan, then echocardiography to look for RARV dilatation. And about the management, the initial appropriate management, especially in case of acute massive pulmonary embolism, is life-saving. So, oxygen supplementation, then IV fluid, plasma expander for patients with shock. But inotropes should not be used because right heart is already contracting at its major contraction. Heart is maximally contracting due to the endogenous catecholamine. So we need not give extra inotropes. And diuretics and vasodilators also should be avoided because that can precipitate the hypotension and also the hypovolemia that can cause hypotension. And external cardiac massage can be given in case of moribund patient by dislodging and breaking up of large central embolus. And anticoagulation with heparin or low molecular weight heparin, and which is bridged with the warfarin. And while using warfarin, the INR should be between 2 to 3. And when INR is more than 2, low molecular weight heparin can be stopped. And other newer oral anticoagulant also can be used like rivaroxaban, apixaban, dabigatran. And for rivaroxaban and apixaban, we need not use low molecular weight heparin before. But for dabigatran, we should use 5 days of low molecular weight heparin before starting this. And next, thrombolysis with the tenecteplase. So in case of acute massive pulmonary embolism with the shock. And in IVC filters or vena cava filters can be used in case of patients in whom the anticoagulation is contraindicated.